Welcome back to Northwoods Noise. Another week has passed, which means it's time to start working on the 1978 F-150 again. I think this weekend I just want to focus on getting the exhaust system knocked out, so let's grab the welder and get started on that. And after sitting here for a week, it looks like we still got a little bit of leakage going on, but that's alright, that happens when you get older. Looks like that's definitely coming from the oil pan, and we have a small drip of coolant there yet. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It looks like it's dripping off the bottom of the water pump, but when it's running, it's not obvious. So I'll have to take a closer look at that later. If you guys remember, the ones of you that may have watched it way back when we put the timing cover on, it was super pitted, and I was kind of thinking that was going to leak, and that's kind of my best guess as to where that's coming from. But anyway, exhaust. Let's get to it. So between this box, that box, and that box, I got about $200 worth of exhaust pipe here, and sure as hell beats the $1,000 quote that I got from the professionals. So let's see what we can do. Well, here's what I got figured out so far. We're going to come out of the collector, kick up along the frame rail, run into the glass pack about 2 feet back. Coming out of the glass pack will be relatively close to the spring perch at that point. I think we're going to kick down and then go underneath the frame and then straight back from there. So here's what that sort of preliminarily looks like. So like I said, we'll come out of the collector, kick up, move along the frame rail into the glass pack, and then from here we're going to kind of come down and then in underneath the frame, which is what those 245s are for. But not exactly quite sure how we're going to get that to work out yet, but we'll figure it out once we get there. So let's get this tacked together and then sort of mocked up and see how it looks, how it fits. And then if you're going to do this like I'm doing it, remember to slide your collector flange over the end of your pipe before you get too far here. Otherwise you're going to screw yourself over and you won't be able to get this where it needs to be. Well, here's where we're sitting at so far. I'm sure some of you are probably like, well, why not just come straight back? Well, as you're looking at the truck from the outside of the truck, if this was down much lower than it's at right now, you're just going to see straight pipe. And to me, that doesn't look good, so that's why I wanted to tuck it up those extra couple inches. And to be honest, probably could have gone a little bit further, closer up towards the cab, but I don't know, I didn't want all that heat that close to the cab either, and then this way too it's going to keep us down a little bit lower around the fuel tank once we get back there towards the back as well. But so right now, let's see if I have enough hands to do this. We're a little too long on this section here that drops down after the glass pack. Looks like we got to cut off maybe about 6 inches there. I'm going to set you guys down, get an actual measurement on that, and then we'll cut that, and then these two 45s that I used to make another S here are going to join up with this piece coming out of the glass pack, and then that's really going to be it. At that point I'll probably just, I'll have to weld it together, and then I think we're going to have to extend the tailpipe another maybe foot or so. And I don't know if I'm going to put tips on this or not. I kind of want to, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So like I said, I'm going to set you guys down, get a measurement real quick, and then we'll cut this. Ended up being about 7 inches that we're going to have to take off. Got the bandsaw all set up. We'll just turn around and let her eat. Alright, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Standing back and looking at it, I mean, you can really only see right there. See the pipe again right there, and then you just see the rest of the tailpipe coming out the back. I'm glad that I spent the extra money just to pick up these extra little jogs just to get the glass pack up and out of the way. At least you can't see that standing back looking at it. I think I'm going to try and get this all tack welded where it sits, just to try and keep the arrangement that I have going on there. Except for the one joint back there by the fuel tank, we're going to stay as far away from that as possible. But then I think once it's tacked, I'm going to pull it all out, and then we'll full weld it outside, or at least out from underneath the truck, just to avoid catching anything on fire underneath here. She's, like I said at the beginning here, a little bit drippy, a little bit leaky, so I don't want to start a fire if I can avoid it. Passenger side is pretty much done. I gotta put one more hanger on back there and then figure out what I'm doing as far as a tailpipe slash tip situation. Haven't gotten that far yet. But before I get that far, I want to get the other side kind of mocked up and in place. So I'm just going to mirror it, start by tacking this together. We'll get that kind of bolted up over there and then figure out if that same 7-inch measurement that we used on this side over here is going to work over there too. Driver's side's coming out almost exactly the same, so we're just going to rip another 7 inches off this guy and then we'll just keep going just like we did on the passenger side. Okay, so we're about 3/4 of the way done now. We've got the collectors bolted up to the headers up there. Those are nice and tight now. And then we have our hangers welded in place about midway back here. They're just hanging off the rubber straps that we found on the bed. And then, like I said, I just took a piece of, I don't know if this is 3/16 rod, and just welded it to the pipe to make a hanger. And then we did that on the same, same thing on the other side over here. So looking back, that's kind of what we're seeing there. It's not perfectly symmetrical yet. As you can see there, this side's kind of going off at an angle and this side's sort of pointing down, but that's just because the tailpipes aren't secured in their hangers yet. That, and I mean, this side is slightly off in measurement from that side. If you just, take a look at the gap between the frame and the pipe, and then compare that to this side, we're a bit closer on this side than we are on the other side, but I guess that's just the variation in my super accurate measurements, but I'm not too worried about that because, like I said, we can kind of correct that once we get to the back there with how we position our hangers, and that's the next thing on the list. So like I was saying earlier in the video here, I am a little bit concerned about proximity between the exhaust and the fuel tank, but I mean, that's a steel tank, it's got no leaks at the moment, and there's a good, I mean, right now there's a good like 4 inches, 5 inches in between there, but when this is all done, there's going to be, probably about 2 finger widths, which, is, in my opinion, that's plenty. I mean, we're all the way at the back of the truck. The exhaust is going to be pretty cool by the time it gets back here, plus, there's, like I said, there's going to be a good air buffer there of about 2.5 inches, maybe a little bit more, depending on where we position our hangers. So it's not ideal. If you could avoid that, I mean, I would suggest, avoid routing your exhaust close to the fuel tanks. But if you look at new cars, and I mean just cars throughout history, the proximity of the exhaust to the fuel tanks, it's just something you can't really avoid. So I mean, if I get super paranoid about it, I can always heat wrap these things too. But like I said, I'm just, at the moment, I'm really not that worried about it. So I did order some tips for this. They're not here yet. I'm hoping they're going to be here tomorrow, but I think we can still kind of plan how this is going to get finished without those. I'm going to get you guys set up a little bit better here, and I'll try and show you what I'm thinking. Alright, hopefully this comes across halfway decent on camera, but the tips that I got are 8 inches in length. So I want I think about a 2-inch stick out past the end of the bumper here, which is perfect. So that'll be from the end of the inside of the bumper. 8 inches puts us about 1.75 inches out past the bumper, so I'm happy with that. So then to get there, and they're clamp-on tips, and I think I will probably use the clamps instead of welding them on. They look halfway decent, at least they did in the Amazon listing, so we'll see how that looks when I get here. But for now, we'll plan on clamping those on. So then to get to that point, I'm going to want about a 2-inch overlap, so I got something, some meat from the exhaust pipe to clamp onto. So then from where we're at with the existing tailpipe, it's about from the end of the coupler to the bumper, we're at about 16 inches. So 18 inches would put us, that would give us that 2 inches to clamp onto with the tip. So let's check the other one, make sure it's the same. Should be. Yeah, I mean 2 pieces at 18 inches. This one's, it's like I said, it's a little bit, there's about 1/2 inch difference here. I don't think, I used the exact same measurements on both sides just because they were close enough, but I don't think the headers come off the engine and stop at the exact same place on either side of the chassis. So if you're not okay with good enough, maybe take a little bit better measurements than I did. But yeah, so 18 inches on the passenger side. Driver's side looks like it should be, if I wanted the exact same length, I should probably cut that one at, well, about 17 and a half. But we're just going to cut 2 at 18 and then make up the difference with the positioning of the tips, if that makes sense. So let's do that. We'll cut 2 more pieces at 18 inches and then slip those in there for now and kind of just get everything positioned, and then we're just sort of waiting for the tips at that point. Well, the length's looking pretty good. Now we just got to get some hangers made to get those put up into their final resting spots there to fix the whole cattywampus cross-eyed thing we got going on. And that's more or less what I need. Now the most difficult part's going to be making another one exactly like it to match the other side, but let's try our best. Well, pretty damn close. Hopefully that's good enough. Seems to be a general theme here in this project, as there is with all my projects. Close is good enough, I guess. We're not building a SEMA truck, right? And there's our hangers, which now that I'm looking at it, kind of looks like a different type of hangers, doesn't it? Thankfully, you know, they're going to be about spaced this far apart, so I won't look like one of those idiots with truck nuts. But anyway, let's get those put on. And there's the finished product minus the tips. Might have to throw some weld onto those hangers just to keep this side down at the bottom of the hanger, because it kind of wants to pop up right now. But I mean, you know, stuff like that. Little details that you're only going to notice if you're looking for it, but yeah, other than that, I think we're just waiting for the tips. But you know, I don't know if I've got the patience to to wait to fire it up for the tips to be on there. I kind of want to hear what it's going to sound like now. I do still have to throw a couple more welds on here. I'm going to weld the joints, you know, here, and then back where it comes off with the 45s back there. Just wanted to leave that free for now, just in case I had to make any more adjustments with the tailpipes. Especially after I put the tips on there, if I end up having to rotate them or something like that. But I mean, for a $200 eBay exhaust, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with this so far. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it sounds, but it's gonna sound good. I mean, dual glass packs never sounds bad. All right, let's fire it up. I'm dying to see how it sounds. I can't get over how good that sounds, and especially how quiet it is up here. I mean, there's no ticking, no exhaust leak, no valve train noise, thankfully no rod knocks. It's the quietest that I've ever heard this engine run. 3.5 PSI, just happy as can be. Alright, well, I'm super happy with this. I'll catch up with you guys once I get those tips in the mail. Well, exhaust tips showed up. Let's check them out. Perfect. That is what I ordered. Nothing crazy, but should look a little bit better than just the regular old bare steel exhaust pipe back there. Well, I don't know that I'm in love with those. We'll leave them on there for now. I think it's, like I said, a little bit better than just the bare steel pipe back there, but now that I see them on there, it definitely doesn't scream 70s truck. Kind of looks more like early 2000s Fast and Furious, but what are you going to do? I guess that's why we went with the clamp-on ones. We can always take them off or change them out. Well, let's get this finished up. I want to pull these tailpipes out, get the final welds put on them, and then get everything put back where it needs to be, and I guess just button it up for now. Well, I think for now, she's done. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with those tips or not, but for the duration of the time that I have this thing and that I'm working on it, I think it's going to work just fine for an exhaust system, so let's fire it up one more time and just enjoy it. So all said and done, that's a less than $300 exhaust system, which, I mean, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with. The pre-bent exhaust tubing kits came from eBay. They were about $150. The glass packs came off of eBay as well. Those were about $60, and the tips came from Amazon, and I want to say those were another 40 bucks. So for a little north of $250, we completed our exhaust system from the headers back. And of course, that's not including the cost of any of the tools that I used. So with that completed, I think we're going to take a pause on the F150 series for a while. I'm going to continue work on that over this winter, but for now, I've sunk enough money into it over the past 2 months that I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit on how much I'm putting into it. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think I have less than $3,000 into it, but there's always a lot going on around here that requires money. So on the to-do list yet for the truck, we have to rip the front of the engine back down and try to investigate that water pump leak. I think, like I said, what that's going to come down to is just replacing the timing cover. Like we said, that was pretty pitted when we looked at that earlier. Some guys on the internet had some really good suggestions as to how to fix that without buying a new part. One guy said, I believe, just take JB Weld, fill in the pits, and then sand it flush, and it should be good to go. We might try that. Depending on how things go for me here in the future, we might just buy a new timing cover. From Summit, I believe they were somewhere in the neighborhood of like $130. Might just try one of those if the budget will allow for it. But so that's going to have to be done. We have to investigate that water leak there. Got to try and seal up the oil pan a little bit better. I think that's just going to be a matter of tightening up all of the bolts repeatedly until they're all tight, because you know how that goes. You start at the middle, work your way out, but as you work your way out, everything that you tightened up in the middle loosens up, and you just got to keep going around and going around until it's tight again. But as far as leaks go, with all the work that we did, that seems to be about it. When I do have the front of the engine taken apart again, I think I'm going to go back in and retorque the head bolts just for peace of mind, I guess. We have to get the bracket for the Edelbrock carburetor that's going to connect to the kickdown linkage for the transmission. That'll be another $50 to $80, I think, but that's a must-have. And then from there, I think we just need to reassemble the front clip, get the hood back on, and then decide what we want to do next. I would like to pull the C6 out of here and kind of refresh that, but again, time and money, we'll just see what happens in the future. But looking forward to what we're going to be doing on the channel. I want to get back into the snowmobiles. As you guys have seen in the background here, there's just a plethora of those sitting here waiting for my attention. So, you know, based on the time of year and hopefully what's coming in the forecast, I think it's time to start getting back into that. Well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you guys very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. The other side did come out about exactly the same, so we're just going to rip another 7 inches off this piece, and we'll just... fucking A.